He was a pathetic muscle-brained moron who lifted like Sakama every day, but couldn't use magic, which basically meant he was worthless in this world. So, he made up his mind to become the strongest magician without using any magic. In the end, he ended up rizzing more girls with his muscles than you could ever dream of. In a land ruled by magic and watched over by dragons and divine powers, there existed one guy who just didn't fit in. His name was Mash, and let's be real, he wasn't the sharpest tool in the shed. Dude had zero magic skills, which in this world was basically a death sentence. Mash spent his whole life living quietly in the woods with his old man, a kind but tired guy named Regro. One day, Mash messed up the door again. He couldn't remember whether to push or pull it, so he just bashed it repeatedly until it broke apart completely. Regro was used to this by now. Mash might have been clueless, but he was his kid, and Regro kept his secret safe. Mash had no magic in a world where that made him an outcast. That's why his training was pure muscle, no spells, no shortcuts. Before heading out, Regro reminded Mash to never step foot in the city. Mash agreed. But yeah, that was a lie. The bakery had just released a new goblin cream puff, and Mash wasn't missing that for the world. So off he went, walking into town and casually ignoring the fact that everyone around him was using magic like it was breathing. But Mash didn't care. All their fancy tricks, he could do it with his hands. At the bakery, the delicious smell had him hyped. But when he tried to pay, his coins were all crushed from his freak strength. The baker freaked out after watching Mash casually bend the steel coins back into shape like it was nothing. He handed over the cream puffs, but a gust of wind blew off Mash's hat, revealing his face. The moment people saw he didn't have the magic mark everyone else had, the crowd panicked. Meanwhile, a magic cop named Brad was torturing some poor guy while daydreaming about this year's divine visionary, the top-tier magic user. Just then, his phone buzzed. Someone without a mark had been spotted. That's all Brad needed to hear. Back in town, Mash bumped into this overweight officer who tried to arrest him for ruining his uniform. Mash tried to be polite, even offering to wash the guy's clothes, but things got worse. Brad showed up and instantly realized Mash was the one they were looking for. Before Brad could do anything, Regro swooped in, grabbed Mash, and escaped. Brad saw this as his golden ticket to get promoted. He sent out a magical bird to track them and followed them back into the forest. At their house, Regro scolded Mash for sneaking out, but after seeing how guilty the kid looked, he just made him repeat his morning training. Mash offered him cream puffs as a peace gift, and when Mash tried leaving through the door again, Regro opened it for him. He already knew how that would go. Regro knew Mash was growing up and naturally curious, but peace wouldn't last. When he looked out the window, he saw Brad's magic bird spying on them, followed by an explosion. Brad and his men stormed in, demanding to know where Mash was. Out in the forest, even a squirrel got freaked out watching Mash casually lifting massive weights like they were made of feathers. Done with his 5-minute workout, Mash once again forgot which way the door opened. But before he could wreck it again, Brad's voice echoed from inside the house. Brad confronted Regro, calling Mash a curse, someone who rejected the god's gift of magic. He offered to spare Regro if he gave up Mash, but Regro refused. He'd spent his whole life being tossed aside for having no magic, fired from jobs, abandoned by family. Just when he'd given up on life, he found baby Mash, also markless, also unwanted. That was the first time Regro felt like he mattered to someone. He'd raised Mash ever since, and he wasn't about to give him up. Brad wasn't having it and kicked Regro aside, ready to finish him off, until Mash burst in, sending one officer flying into the woods. He yanked the other guy's shirt off and slapped him so hard he passed out. Regro asked why he came back, and Mash answered, "Because we're family. I won't let anyone take that away." Brad launched a spell powerful enough to scare off dragons, but Mash casually slapped the energy blast aside like it was a fly. Every new spell smacked away. Mash was playing magical volleyball with deadly attacks, even bouncing them around like a showboater on a basketball court. When Mash picked up a wand, Brad actually thought maybe Mash had magic after all. Brad cast his strongest barrier, but Mash wound up like a baseball pitcher and hurled the wand so hard it shattered right through. He warned Brad that if anyone came for his family again, he wouldn't be so nice. Realizing how dangerous Mash was, Brad changed tactics. He made a deal. Every year, the best of the best magic students are named Divine Visionary, basically a king-level wizard. If Mash could enter the Magic Academy and win that title, society would have to accept him. Brad would get paid, Regro would be safe. But if Mash refused, both of them would be hunted. Mash agreed. If the world wouldn't let him live peacefully, he'd beat it down with his fists. Next day, Mash walked into Easton Magic Academy with a fake magic mark drawn on his face. Everyone was getting ready for the entrance exam, and a stuck-up professor named Lucci was talking trash about the weak-looking students. Then he heard this crazy banging sound, Mash casually breaking world records like a baby playing with toys. Lucci tried to ignore it. He summoned desks from the ground and dropped test papers from the sky, flexing like he was the ultimate teacher. Everyone was impressed, but Mash just thought he was overdoing it. The test started. The words on the paper were literally squirming around, enchanted with a curse. The task: break the spell. Rigro and Brad watched from afar, wondering what kind of idiotic test this was. Mash just stared at the paper, told the words to stop moving, and they didn't. So he smacked the paper with a stick and the words froze. First one done. Lucci was stunned. Mash passed the remaining tests easily, running across water, lifting floating rocks with just his fingers. Furious, Lucci summoned a giant underground maze filled with monsters and gave them 30 minutes to finish. As Mash entered, a cute shy girl with blonde hair ran up to him, crying and begging for help. She promised him a reward, but then tripped and face planted into the dirt. A pack of goblins showed up, surrounding her. Realizing she was holding him back, Mash tried to ditch her, but she used a spell to trap him. Turns out, she had been ordered to sabotage him. But Mash broke through the chains with raw strength and bolted away. A massive godlike figure appeared and asked her a riddle: what has 4 legs in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, and 3 at night? She had no clue and knew she was done for. Just as she screamed for help, Mash returned and beat the creature into the dirt. She asked why he came back, and he simply said he felt bad for her and figured she had her reasons. With seconds left, Lucci thought Mash had lost. But then a loud crashing echoed across the arena. Mash broke through a wall over 1 meter thick and finished the maze. The students accused him of cheating and told him to leave, and Mash started to feel like maybe he should. But the girl, whose name was Lemon, shouted that it wasn't his fault. Lucci had blackmailed her because her family was too poor to pay tuition. Even after all that, Mash still saved her. She randomly blurted out that she wanted to marry him, and while she kept saying stuff like "mash me up," Mash was confused and didn't remember saying anything like that. Lucci finally admitted he was the one trying to fail Mash all along. He activated a deadly spell, planning to wipe both of them out. At that moment, Mash shattered his wand like a twig. Burnedead and Brad, watching from afar, were stunned. Then the headmaster of the academy arrived, setting the stage for the final part of the entrance exam. Mash was the first student to be called for an interview at the magic school. The headmaster, Wahlberg, asked him why he helped the girl named Lemon, even though she tried to up during the exam. Mash said that if he had left her behind, he would have felt bad later. Wahlberg then asked what he would have done if he couldn't break through the wall or beat the giant monster. He reminded Mash that in the real world, there are enemies way stronger than him. To test Mash, Wahlberg used magic to summon a scary creature. Then, he sent a magical spear flying toward a doll that had Mash's dad's soul inside. If the spear hit, his dad's soul would disappear forever. Mash ran up and tried to punch the spear, but it wouldn't stop. So, he grabbed it with both hands and held on, using all his strength to keep it from moving. Wahlberg watched in silence. He realized Mash was the kind of person he had always respected, someone strong who used power to protect others. That was the kind of hero the world needed. The test ended, and Mash gave his final answer: even if someone was stronger, he'd still fight them with his fists, even the headmaster himself. Everyone gasped, but Wahlberg just smiled and accepted him into Easton Magic Academy. Later, in class, they were learning a simple spell to unlock things. The teacher showed the students how to do it. When it was Mash's turn, he just crushed the lock with his hands. The teacher got angry because he didn't even try using magic. Mash explained that he wasn't good at magic. The boy sitting next to him, named Finn, started thinking Mash up. After class, Finn went to check out his dorm room. He hoped Mash wouldn't be his roommate. But when he got there, the door was gone and Mash was holding it in his hands. That's when Finn knew he got they'd be living together. At first, Finn thought Mash was normal, but then Mash randomly showed him his muscles and Finn immediately thought he was weird. Mash asked to borrow Finn's broom for the next class. He had brought a giant tree root instead of a broom by mistake. Finn let him use his. The next day, they started broom flying practice. The teacher showed them how to float using magic. Everyone was flying, but Mash's broom didn't move. One student made fun of him and said he was slowing the class down. Mash stomped his foot on the ground, and the broom flew straight into his hand. The same student challenged him to a race. The loser would have to obey the winner until graduation. The teacher didn't think Mash could even ride a broom, but started the race anyway. The second it began, Mash was already at the finish line, setting a new school record. No one could even tell how he got there so fast. But Finn saw what happened. Mash threw the broom forward and jumped onto it midair. Mash told the student to forget the bet, but the guy wouldn't stop talking until a new student named Cavil stepped in. He apologized for his friend. Everyone got tense. Cavil was known for being dangerous. Now that he noticed Mash, they knew trouble was coming. Mash didn't hear Cavil's name properly and called him Cabbage, which made the room go silent. Cavil was ready to attack, but the teacher stopped him, saying class wasn't over yet. Cavil told Mash to meet him after class and walked away. As they walked back to their dorm, Finn warned Mash that Cavil was the son of a powerful man in the Bureau of Magic, the group that controlled everything. Cavil's family had strong ties to the school. If Mash messed with him, he could be kicked out. Finn had seen other students suffer because of Cavil before. Mash didn't care and started baking cream puffs in the dorm. Meanwhile, Cavil was waiting for him outside and got angry when Mash didn't show. The next day, Cavil found Mash and asked why he didn't come. Mash said he was busy making cream puffs, which made Cavil even more annoyed. Then Cavil said he could help Mash become a divine visionary, one of the top students in the country, if Mash obeyed him. Mash agreed right away and became his personal servant. Mash got ready for the next class but found his textbook ruined again. Finn offered to share his book. Mash was grateful and thought Finn was a good friend. Later, Cavil told Mash to pour water on the floor and clean it. Mash did it without complaining. What Mash didn't know was that Cavil had been ordering Finn to mess with his stuff. Then Cavil told Finn to burn Mash's clothes. Finn said no, so Cavil used magic to hurt him. Mash walked in and saw Cavil bullying Finn. Cavil said he just wanted Finn to apologize. Finn broke down and told Mash the truth. He had been messing with Mash's books because Cavil forced him. He cried and apologized. Cavil tried to change the topic and invited Mash to dinner with the vice principal. But Mash just walked up and smashed Cavil's head into the floor, knocking him out. Finn panicked and said Mash was going to get expelled. Just then, the vice principal, Farman, arrived. He said he saw everything but still blamed Mash for attacking Cavil. He said Mash and Finn were beneath Cavil and deserved punishment. As Farman kept talking, Mash walked over and kneed him in the face. Everyone was shocked. Mash said Farman wasn't listening to reason, so he hit him instead. Since he was already in trouble, he didn't care anymore. Farman tried to cast a spell, but Mash threw dirt in his face, dug a hole, and buried him in it. Farman yelled from inside that Mash would regret it, but Mash told him to shut up or get buried deeper. Mash was called to the headmaster's office. Wahlberg told him the Bureau of Magic had sent an official letter asking for him to be expelled. He explained that the Divine Visionaries were chosen by the Academy and had strong ties to the Bureau. He reminded Mash how powerful Cavil's family was, but then he burned the letter right in front of him. Wahlberg was upset with how unfair the world had become. He said the system only helped rich people and ignored everyone else. He told Mash that the world needed more people like him, people who do the right thing, even when it's hard. Wahlberg said he hoped Mash would become a divine visionary. Mash said he already planned to. But when Wahlberg started explaining how the process worked, Mash looked totally lost. So Wahlberg made it simple, just get good grades and collect as many silver coins as possible. He said he'd deal with the Bureau and the vice principal. With that, Mash walked away, ready to do things his own way. The next day, a guy named Tom, who was the captain of the Dwell team, asked Mash to join their flying ball game. It was kind of like Quidditch from Harry Potter. Mash told him straight up that he didn't know how to fly a broom. But Tom didn't believe him and pulled him onto the team anyway. When the match started, the other team quickly took the ball and started scoring points. Mash was still stuck on the ground, repeating that he didn't know how to ride a broom. The audience thought he was just being lazy and started yelling at him, even throwing things. Meanwhile, Tom's team was getting crushed. Tom came over and explained the rules. You had to throw the ball through the opponent's hoop to get points. Magic wasn't allowed, only broom flying skills mattered. But before he could go back, the enemy team's captain rammed into him hard, knocking him down and breaking some of his bones. Mash went to check on him, asking the enemy captain if he had any respect for fair play. But the guy said he didn't care, winning was all that mattered. Even though Tom was badly hurt, he told Mash that trying your best was more important than just winning. Right now, their team was down 50 points. The enemy captain was already celebrating. But then something inside Mash snapped. He grabbed a broom, jumped up, and started flying, not by magic, but by kicking the air so fast he stayed up. Everyone was stunned, not understanding how he was flying at all. Mash snatched the ball mid-air. When the other team rushed at him, he used his insane strength to throw the ball so hard that it blasted them away and scored a point. The crowd gasped as the ball curved back like a boomerang right into his hand. He kept doing the same move over and over, scoring again and again, while the audience watched in complete disbelief. Eventually, their score hit 999 points. They won the game, and the school gave them silver coins as a reward for setting a new record. Finn was amazed at how awesome Mash was, but Mash said he didn't want to play that game ever again. Tom ran up and gave him a big hug, thanking him for saving the team. Later, a student named Lance saw Mash's story in the newspaper. He remembered him from the entrance exam and tore up the picture, deciding Mash would be his next target. In class, Tom bugged Mash to practice with him. Lemon wanted to study with Mash, but he wasn't in the mood. That's when Lance showed up. Lemon recognized him as the guy who helped explain the entrance exam. Lance said he wanted to have some fun, then pulled out a strange magic tool that trapped Mash's friends inside a bottle. He told Mash to meet him in the forest if he wanted them back, and vanished. Mash met Lance in the woods. Lance showed him 2 silver coins and said he was collecting them to become a divine visionary. Most students had one line on their face showing their magic level, but Lance had more, meaning he had extra power. He challenged Mash to a duel and said they'd each bet 1 silver coin. Mash accepted. Lance cleared the area using a spell. When the battle started, Mash tried to punch him, but Lance used gravity magic to slam Mash into the ground. Lance said no one could move under his spell, but Mash started punching the dirt and pulled up huge roots, cracking the ground and forcing Lance backward. Lance fell to his knees, shocked at Mash's strength. He tried to use his spell again, but Mash moved too fast and went in for another punch. Lance barely dodged it. As they fought, Lance's necklace fell. Mash picked it up and opened it, finding a photo of Lance's little sister. Lance got emotional and asked Mash what he thought was the most important thing in life. Mash guessed cream puffs, but Lance yelled that the only right answer was my sister, making Mash think he was a bit creepy. Lance then threatened to drop the bottle with Mash's friends off a cliff. In a flashback, we see that Lance's sister has a serious illness. If she loses her magic, the system would treat her like trash. Lance wants to become a divine visionary to save her. Back in the present, Lance cast a spell to make the bottle fall faster. Mash changed into his workout outfit, took a running stance, and vanished in a flash. Lance couldn't see where he went. Suddenly, Mash appeared behind him holding the bottle. Lance couldn't believe it. He thought Mash must have used magic. Mash told him the bottle Lance dropped was fake and then grabbed the real one, saving his friends. Lance gave up and handed over his coin, leaving quietly. Mash realized Lance wasn't actually a bad person. His friends ran over and thanked him for rescuing them. We then learn that the academy has 3 dorms. Mash belongs to Adler, which stands for bravery. The other 2 dorms are Orca, which stands for intelligence, and Lang, which stands for ambition. The dorms are rivals and compete with each other. Mash put all his silver coins together. 5 silver coins equals 1 gold coin. He chilled with Finn, but then Finn started panicking. They forgot their potions homework. Lance showed up and scolded them for being slackers and warned they were making their dorm look bad. Mash pulled out Lance's necklace again, and just seeing his sister's picture made Lance faint. Even though he passed out, Lance decided to help them. He brought out a screaming plant called a mandrake, which they needed for the assignment. He showed them the spell to make it sleep. Finn gave it a try and succeeded after focusing his magic properly. But Mash's mandrake grew massive and started freaking out. Mash just slapped it and knocked it out cold. Next, Lance showed them how to prepare the mandrake to turn it into a potion. Finn thought it looked hard, but Mash wasn't worried. Since it didn't need magic, he figured he'd do fine. But instead of a potion, he somehow made a cream puff. Lance thought he was joking, so he gave Mash step-by-step instructions. Mash followed everything, and still made another cream puff. No matter what he did, it always turned into a cream puff. But hey, they actually tasted good. Meanwhile, the headmaster Wahlberg thought about the upcoming special class that would take place outside the school. He wondered if Mash would be okay during it. At the same time, we meet a new student named Barrett. He ran into some other students who insulted him, but he beat all of them up and called them side characters. Back at Lang Dorm, the students believed power was everything. They said Adler students weren't worthy. Their leader gave a clear order, go and steal all the coins from Adler students. The next day, students from both the Lang Dorm and the Adler Dorm were sent out for a class in the forest. Mash had no idea what the lesson would be, but he was curious. As they gathered, a loud guy named Barrett started yelling about how he was the main character of the story. Mash thought he was kind of strange, but Barrett looked at Mash's plain face and assumed he was just a boring extra. Then Lemon showed up and asked Mash if she could stick with him. Barrett got annoyed seeing her give Mash attention. He even spit on Mash and started freaking out, blaming people like Mash for why he couldn't get a girlfriend. But everyone ignored him, which made him even more upset. Their teacher arrived and explained the task. The students had to find and defeat forest scorpions. The goal was to collect stones from their heads. Normal stones were worth bronze coins, but if they found a rare square-shaped one, it could be traded for a silver coin. Then everyone split up. Mash was aiming for the silver coin. As he headed out, a student named Silva walked up to him. He had seen Mash's broom race and admitted it was impressive, but said it didn't matter, then tried to attack Mash using a huge iron spell. Before anything serious could happen, the teacher stepped in and Silva pretended they were just messing around. Mash gave him a sharp look, but Lance pulled Mash back and warned him that Silva was dangerous. He was supposed to be in the year above them, but he got held back for being a troublemaker. Mash didn't really care, he was just glad his cream puff didn't get ruined. As they entered the forest, Lance suggested they team up, but Mash zoned out and wandered off alone. He ended up bumping into Barrett again. Barrett started losing it like always, but Mash casually slapped him, shutting him up. Barrett was about to challenge Mash to a fight when they suddenly heard a scream. They ran toward the noise and saw a girl being attacked by another student. There was a blast of magic, and the attacker was knocked out. The girl thanked Barrett, thinking he saved her. Barrett tried to act cool, but when she held his hand, he started losing it emotionally. Meanwhile, somewhere else in the forest, Silva had already taken down a scorpion and collected a square stone. But he was clearly after something more. Back with the girl, she kept thanking Barrett. When their knees touched, Barrett completely broke down and started smashing his forehead into the dirt. What he didn't know was that the girl was using a charm spell. Any guy who found her attractive would instantly fall for her. She tried to use it on Mash, but it didn't work at all. He just said he didn't even do anything and stood there unfazed. She was shocked. Barrett asked her what was really going on. She said Silva was forcing her to use her powers to manipulate others. Barrett promised to help her, but before they could act, Silva appeared and attacked them. Barrett jumped in to protect her and fired off a bunch of fire spells, ending with a big explosion. Meanwhile, Finn and Lemon were lost in the woods, clinging to Lance and crying for help. Lance wondered if Mash was okay since he knew Silva was going after him. Lemon believed Mash would be fine because he had even beaten their professor once. But Lance explained there are two types of magic users: white mages, who focus on learning and support, and red mages, who focus on fighting. So far, Mash had only faced white mages. If he went up against a powerful red mage, he might be in trouble. Back at the battle, Silva stepped out of the smoke completely unharmed. He had protected himself with his iron magic. He knocked the cream puff out of Mash's hand, which stunned Mash more than anything else. Silva laughed and dared them to fight. Barrett was scared, thinking Mash was useless and that it was up to him to protect the girl. Silva mocked Barrett's weak magic and made him a deal: if Barrett could take 5 hits from him, he'd leave the girl alone. He even added a silver coin to the wager, which followed school rules. The girl said the deal was crazy, but Barrett agreed, willing to take the pain. Silva added that Mash was part of the challenge too, even though Barrett insisted he wasn't. So Barrett bravely offered to take all 10 hits instead, to protect Mash. Silva accepted and started the attack, slamming Barrett down with his Iron Fist spell. 1 hit, and Barrett was already on his knees. But he stood back up, ready for more. Silva hit him again and again. Barrett got crushed by every blow, but he kept standing. After 9 attacks, Barrett was barely hanging on, thinking about how the girl cried for help. Silva charged up one final, super powerful attack and blasted Barrett to the ground. Silva thought it was over, but somehow Barrett got up one more time. He told Silva the fight was over, then passed out. Silva laughed at him, but the girl suddenly turned cold. She told Barrett he was cheesy and that she hated guys like him. It was all a trick. She was actually working with Silva the whole time. Barrett, broken and shocked, told Mash to run with the girl, but it was too late. Silva mocked them, but suddenly, his mouth was stuffed with a cream puff. Mash had finally had enough. He said they'd gone too far. Now, he was joining the fight. Back in the forest, Mash's friends had finally defeated a scorpion. Lance said they shouldn't celebrate too early. Lemon said Mash could handle anything. But Lance explained again, fighting a strong red mage was a whole different thing. Many upperclassmen could be stronger than Mash. Back in the fight, Silva thought Mash was just putting on an act. He said he hated weaklings who acted brave and loved crushing their spirits. He noticed his cloak had a small burn from Barrett's magic and got annoyed. Silva attacked again, and Mash rushed forward. At first, Silva blocked his attack and pushed Mash back. He bragged that he had earned 2 gold coins in his first year, showing how powerful he was. He hit Mash with another strong spell, but Mash caught it midair and crushed it with his bare hand. Mash said it was time for some tricep magic. Silva thought he was joking. He kept attacking with iron pillars, but Mash dodged and punched through all of them. Then he landed a clean hit that sent Silva flying and bleeding. Silva was shocked. He thought his magic was elite. He fired another spell, but Mash smashed right through it again and landed another punch. Silva dropped to his knees. He finally understood he couldn't win. Then Mash did something strange. He sat down. Silva was confused. Mash reminded him there were 8 more hits to go in their challenge. Silva panicked, knowing he couldn't survive 8 more. Just then, a massive scorpion appeared. It had a star-shaped stone on its head, which meant it was extremely strong and valuable. Silva tried to use it as a distraction and escape, but Mash walked up and knocked it out with one punch, collecting the star stone. Silva completely lost it. He realized Mash wasn't human, he was a total monster. But Mash ended the fight, saying he felt bad for Silva. Then he turned to the girl. She panicked and started crying again, claiming Silva had forced her to help. Mash didn't fall for it. She thought men were just too easy to trick. But Mash said he believed in equal treatment and German suplex her. Barrett, watching from the side, just stared and said, "There's something seriously wrong with that guy." After the battle, Mash walked over to his friends. Lemon got worried seeing how beat up he was, but Mash said he was totally fine. Finn was amazed that Mash had even defeated the giant scorpion with the star-shaped stone. He explained those were worth 2 silver coins. Lemon told him he should visit the nurse, and then she checked on Barrett too. But when Barrett looked at her, he completely freaked out and started acting weird. Lemon just thought he was strange. Barrett then apologized to Mash for dragging him into all that drama with Silva and thanked him for helping out. But when Mash looked confused, Barrett quickly got embarrassed and threatened to beat him up, saying it took all his energy just to say something nice. Just then, Mash's pocket started glowing. His silver coins had combined into a gold coin. Lance told everyone that Langdorm students were now hunting coin holders, and that's probably why Silva attacked them. He explained that Langdorm is full of elite students who care about bloodlines and family status. They don't want anyone they see as low class to make it into the Bureau of Magic or become a divine visionary. Lance warned that the Magia Lupus, a group of the 7 strongest Lang students, were targeting anyone with coins. Silva was likely just one of their underlings. He told Mash to stay close to other Adler dorm students now that he had a gold coin. But Mash got lost again trying to find his classroom. He stood in front of a door wondering if it was a push or pull. Meanwhile, Silva was kneeling down, begging for forgiveness. He was in a dark room with Abel, the leader of Langdorm. Abel was holding a creepy doll and said their job was to clean up the weak from the world. Silva begged for another chance, but Abel said he wasn't even good enough to be used. Then, using magic, Abel turned Silva into a puppet. The puppet stood up and joined a line of other human-turned dolls. Abel spoke to his own doll, which he called Mother, and claimed he was the only one worthy of being the next divine visionary. Right then, Mash burst through the door, accidentally breaking it again. He apologized for the door and looked at Abel strangely for talking to a doll. Abel recognized Mash and knew he had a gold coin. He asked why Mash wanted to be a divine visionary. Mash answered that he just wanted to live happily with his family, but the world didn't allow someone like him to live in peace. Abel said that was a weak reason and claimed the world needed to go back to its original state, where only the strong survived and the weak were removed. He believed magicless people were ruining society and wanted to restore order. Mash didn't get all that. He just said he wanted a calm life and didn't see the point in hurting people. Abel offered to let Mash walk away safely, but only if he gave up his gold coin. Mash said no. Abel sent one of his puppet soldiers to attack, but Mash dodged and kicked the puppet hard enough to snap its magic strings. The puppet turned back into Silva. Then, another puppet suddenly grabbed Mash and threw him into a stone wall. It also stole his coin and tossed it to Abel. Mash stood back up, apologized for calling the puppet weak earlier, then picked up Silva and said he was taking him to the nurse. Abel asked if he was giving up on the coin, but Mash said he was just putting Silva first for now. He promised he wouldn't lose, no matter how strong his enemies were. After Mash left, Abel noticed something strange. He was holding a small button from the puppet's jacket instead of the gold coin. One of his students realized what happened. When the puppet flicked the coin, Mash had spit the button at high speed, hitting the coin midair and pulling it back with perfect timing. Abel smiled, now very interested in Mash. At the nurse's office, Silva woke up. He had no memory of anything after being turned into a puppet. He saw Mash doing push-ups in the corner and figured out that Mash had saved him. Feeling guilty, Silva just stayed quiet as Mash left the room. Back at the dorms, Lance and Barrett were arguing inside Finn's room. Finn walked in and asked what was going on. Barrett got angry looking at Lance and said that life was always easier for good-looking guys like him. Lance didn't back down and was ready to fight. Right before they started throwing punches, Mash walked in and told them not to break stuff in his room. Then he happily ate a cream puff and felt like things were back to normal. Suddenly, Lemon ran in with exciting news. She took them to a magical scoreboard that showed how many gold coins each dorm had. Lang dorm had 15 coins. Adler and Orca dorms only had 1 each. At this rate, Lang dorm would win and produce the next divine visionary. The Orca dorm was too busy with research to care, so the boys from Adler decided it was up to them to stop Lang dorm. They were fired up, ready to fight. But just when Mash was getting excited, the headmaster gave him a punishment for breaking another door. He had to clean the owl hut for a week. Mash sighed as the owls pecked at him non-stop. Lance joined him, saying he wanted to use the chance to catch Lang dorm students in case they showed up. Mash thought Lance was just trying to protect him. Sure enough, 2 Lang dorm students showed up, Andrew and Shinri. They were both part of the Magia Lupus, ranked 6th and 7th. They challenged Mash and Lance to a duel, each betting a gold coin. Water appeared under Mash and he fell right in. He didn't even know how to swim. Andrew jumped in and turned into a magical shark, chasing after Mash underwater. Meanwhile, Shinri stayed behind to fight Lance. Shinri attacked with a huge spinning blade. Lance dodged it and thought the magic was weak compared to his gravity powers. He tried to cast his spell, but owls got in the way. He remembered his sister's voice telling him not to hurt animals, so he hesitated. Shinri kept attacking with double blades. Lance got hit while trying not to harm the owls. He finally managed to cast his gravity spell, but it only dropped a shovel. Shinri was confused, but he went in for his strongest attack with 3 blades. Then he noticed all the owls were sitting together in one spot. Lance had used the shovel to open a bag of feed and moved the owls safely out of the way. With no more distractions, Lance used his gravity magic to smash all of Shinri's blades. Shinri tried one last big move, but Lance crushed it and sent him flying. Shinri was shocked. How could someone with the same double-line magic be that much stronger? Lance calmly explained that Shinri only fought to feel superior, but Lance fought to protect his sister. That's why he'd always be stronger. Inside the magical water prison, Andrew bragged about trapping Mash with his sea magic. He said there was no way Mash could get out, but out of nowhere, Mash zipped right past him. Andrew was shocked. He remembered Mash saying earlier that he didn't even know how to swim, but Mash now swam perfectly and said thanks to Andrew for helping him realize he could actually swim. He kept swimming all around him at crazy speeds, and now Andrew felt like he was the one being hunted. Panicking, Andrew activated another spell, changing his body into a more beast-like form. But Mash didn't care. He kept ramming into him over and over underwater. Andrew couldn't handle the hits, and Mash finally broke free of the sea field spell. Lance picked up the gold coin from the ground. He and Mash agreed the two they just beat weren't as strong as they expected, especially for being part of the elite Magia Lupus. But before they could even relax, another member of the group suddenly appeared. In one flash, the masked man passed right by both of them. Lance tried using gravity magic to stop him, but for some reason, it didn't work. Mash quickly changed into his training clothes and rushed at full speed, but the man dodged easily. Lance guessed the guy must have teleportation magic. The masked man pulled out a special bottle, used it to collect his 2 defeated teammates, and calmly said goodbye, promising they'd meet again soon. As he walked away, Lance realized beating the Magia Lupus might not be as simple as they thought. While the masked man was leaving, a crack formed on his mask. He thought back to Mash's speed and how it was possible that someone could move like that without magic. He began to wonder if he and Mash were alike in some way. Later that night, the same masked man went to confront a student from Orca dorm. The student fought using powerful magma magic, but the masked man didn't even flinch and knocked him out easily. He was annoyed that it ended so fast. Elsewhere, a puppet dressed like a student wandered the school in silence. The next morning, Lance gathered the group to plan how to deal with the Magia Lupus. He said that each dorm's location was kept secret, so if they wanted to stop laying dorm, they'd need to find it and go after their coins. While Lance talked strategy, Mash was busy making more cream puffs. Lance handed Mash a new school robe with Adler's symbol on the back. He said it would remind Mash which dorm he was part of. Just then, Lemon rushed in, panicked, and said something had happened to Tom. They ran to the nurse's office and saw Tom lying in bed, completely out of energy. He had no memory of how he got there. He said that usually, he lives life at full speed and falls asleep instantly without dreams. But last night, he dreamed he was trapped inside a dark box, aware of everything, but unable to move or speak. Lemon asked if he was okay, and Tom said he was feeling better but was unable to use magic for now, like all his magic energy had been sucked away. They found out several other students were suffering from the same problem, and it all started after the headmaster was called away to the Bureau of Magic. Lemon gave Mash a cream puff lucky charm and made him promise not to do anything reckless. She told him to always keep it with him and said it would help him think of her. But then she blushed and lost her cool, imagining Mash dreaming about her. That night, Mash and Lance wandered through the halls of the school searching for Lang dorm. Barrett and Finn followed them. Lance asked why they were tagging along. Barrett said he wanted to collect coins. Finn said he just didn't want to be alone in his room. As they explored, they saw Lemon walking ahead. Barrett ran to her right away, but Lance noticed something was wrong. Lemon's body was jerking and moving strangely. She had been turned into a puppet. The others avoided looking straight at her and let her walk past. Even though she was a puppet, Barrett still thought she looked cute. They decided to follow her. When they turned the corner, they hit a dead end. Finn heard strange clicking sounds, like cracking wood. Lance used a spell called Rello that revealed a secret hidden door. He said they'd need another spell to open it. Barrett blasted it with fireballs, but nothing happened. He didn't know how to get in. Mash walked up, grabbed a nearby suit of armor, and slammed it down next to the door. He cracked open the wall, jammed a sword into the crack, and stepped down on it like a lever. That sent the whole door flying off the building and blew a hole straight through the roof. Lance said the Magia Lupus was probably waiting inside. Mash looked down at the cream puff charm Lemon gave him and thought about how he might not be able to keep his promise to her. They entered the hidden space under the school and found a long tunnel. At the end, light was shining. When they came out, they found themselves standing inside a huge battle arena. A student named Getsuk was waiting for them. He told them if they wanted to keep going, they'd have to defeat him. Lance was ready to fight, but Barrett stepped forward instead. He said he had a personal problem with handsome guys and wanted this fight. Barrett started shouting that guys like Getsuk had it too easy in life. Getsuk just thought he sounded jealous. He turned his wand into a rose whip, and the two prepared to battle. Meanwhile, far away at the Bureau of Magic, Headmaster Wahlberg sat across from the director. Wahlberg knew he must have been called for something serious. The director revealed that 6 of the most dangerous criminals in the world had escaped from death row. The guards were all wiped out. They had help from someone named Innocent Zero. Back at the arena, Barrett launched a fireball at Getsuk, but it was blocked by vines. Getsuk's vines attacked, and Barrett barely avoided them. Barrett stayed confident and fired another round of fireballs. They didn't hit Getsuk directly, they just hit the ground around him, making strange marks. Barrett told Getsuk to be careful. Those marks were 5 times more powerful than normal. Getsuk laughed, saying it was a weak trick. He didn't believe it would work. He asked how Barrett planned to make him step on one. Getsuk used his whip to grab Barrett and made him drop his wand. Then the vines grew large thorns and stabbed into Barrett's body. Getsuk said it was over and prepared to finish him. But Barrett triggered one of the marks, causing a massive explosion. Getsuk's wand broke in the blast. Barrett smirked and explained he never said anything about stepping on the marks. His spell was a delayed bomb. Then he activated the rest. More explosions surrounded Getsuk, and he couldn't believe he lost to someone like Barrett. Finn ran over to congratulate him. Barrett got excited, ready for his next fight. But even though Getsuk lost, he still struck a pose. Then, suddenly, the floor beneath everyone gave way. Mash tried to save his cream puff as the entire group dropped through the floor. When they landed, they were all separated. Lance stood alone, but instantly felt a terrifying presence. He had run into Maddle, the 3rd strongest of the Magia Lupus. Barrett and Finn landed together and soon came across Milo and Love, the 4th and 5th ranked. Finn said they were doomed, but Barrett yelled that he had main character energy and told him not to give up. Mash landed alone in a pitch-dark room. He looked around, wondering where his friends were. Lights turned on, and he was greeted by the masked man from before. The man said his name was Razor, the 2nd-ranked member of Magia Lupus. He complimented Mash on his movements during their last encounter, but now he had figured something out. Mash didn't use any magic at all. Mash felt nervous, he knows his secret. Maddle stood in front of Lance and explained how, in their world, power was everything. If you were weak, you didn't matter. Lance didn't care what he had to say and went straight into battle. He used his gravity magic to attack, but as soon as it hit Maddle, his body turned to mud and melted into the floor. Maddle reappeared behind Lance with a bunch of mud clones. Lance used his gravity magic again to smash the copies into the ground, but Maddle said it was useless. His mud clones just kept coming back together. Lance figured out that the only way to stop this was to hit the real one hiding somewhere. So instead of targeting the clones, he used his magic to crush the entire battlefield. Still, Maddle managed to slip behind him again and trap him in mud. Then he fired a bunch of hardened mud balls straight at Lance. He admitted that Lance was strong but said he was wasting his talent. Maddle offered Lance a spot in the Magia Lupus. He told him that power depends on your surroundings, the people you train with, the tools you have. He said everyone in Adler Dorm was weak in holding Lance back. He bragged that Magia Lupus had the best training, the best potions, and the strongest students. But Lance didn't care. He called Maddle weak for depending on his environment and said real strength comes from within. Lance fired off another gravity spell, this time smashing Maddle into the wall. Maddle's body exploded into mud again. He had already filled the room with mud to absorb impacts, so gravity magic wasn't working like it normally would. He thought this meant Lance couldn't win, but then Lance stopped using gravity and started launching rocks instead. Maddle was surprised. Lance had figured out his trick and forced him out of hiding. Lance said that clearly his environment was better since he was stronger. Maddle got annoyed and pulled out a magic potion. It contained stolen magic energy taken from other students. He drank it, causing his power to skyrocket. He activated a stronger version of his mud magic called Second. A huge demon made of mud appeared in front of Lance. Maddle explained that magic has levels. 2nd level magic is rare and only used by double line users who are truly skilled. He thought back to his childhood when his father told him that a person's worth is based on their ability to use magic. Since then, he had done everything to earn his father's approval. He believed reaching this high level meant he finally had value. He told Lance he would never reach that level because he wasted time with weak people. Lance dodged the attack and thought about how meeting people like Mash had actually made him better. Then he revealed that he could also use second magic. Giant gravity pillars appeared and surrounded the mud monster. Gravity pulled from all sides, and then Lance summoned one last pillar from above, tearing the monster to pieces. Maddle collapsed. He couldn't believe he lost. He thought back to how his father had always ignored him, no matter how hard he worked. Now that he had failed, he thought maybe his father had been right, that he really was worthless. But Lance tossed him a book he found, Maddle's journal. It was worn out and beat up. Lance said he could tell just from that how hard Maddle had worked. He admitted that his own family also believed that social status was everything. But his little sister had different dreams, she just wanted to sing and be happy. That helped him realize that trying your best is more important than being born gifted. Lance said he didn't agree with how Maddle saw the world, but he respected how hard he had tried. Then he walked away to go find his friends. Meanwhile, Mash was nervous. Razor, the masked man, had figured out that Mash didn't have any magic. Razor said they were the same, both rejected by society, but he had his own reason for being here. They prepared to fight. Mash changed into his training outfit and kicked straight at Razor, knocking him back. But Razor dashed behind him in a blink, slicing Mash as he passed. Razor moved at incredible speed thanks to his magic. He cut Mash multiple times and said they were on completely different levels. Mash refused to quit, but Razor said Mash's dream of living happily with his family was pathetic. He said their lives were similar, but Mash got lucky with the people around him. Then he told Mash to prove himself, revealing that Lemon was currently being drained of her magic. If nothing changed, she would lose all her powers in 30 minutes, just like what happened to him. Mash promised to defeat him. Razor used his magic to speed around again, slashing Mash over and over. Mash couldn't block in time and got stabbed in the stomach. But Razor's sword suddenly stopped. Mash had tightened his abs and stopped the blade from going deeper. Then he smashed Razor in the face with a headbutt, breaking the mask and revealing his red eye. Mash asked if his eye was just bloodshot. Razor said no, it was the evil eye, a cursed power that cancels all magic. People saw it as demonic. Because of it, everyone feared him, even his own family. He was treated like a monster since the day he was born. Mash said sorry since the eye didn't affect him. Razor explained that mages hated him, feared him, and rejected him. Even his parents locked him in the basement so no one would find out about him. Eventually, they even tried to kill him. He grew up believing he should have never been born. But Abel gave him purpose. Even if he was just a tool, at least he had a reason to exist. Now that he lost to Mash, Razor believed he was nothing again. Razor activated his strongest magic, surrounding the battlefield with a field that created a giant arrow on Mash's body. Razor said that inside the field, Mash's speed was being drained and given to him. Mash had no way to keep up. Razor hit him with another powerful strike and told him it was over. But Mash punched the floor, cracking the ground and destroying Razor's sword. Razor realized that by breaking the floor, he messed up the magic field's rules. Razor tried to back away, but Mash stepped on his foot to stop him from escaping. Then he used his muscle magic to land a massive punch, blasting Razor out of the magic field. Razor was still trying to run, but Mash chased him down and kicked him in the back. Razor said that if he lost, he'd lose the only reason he had to live. He charged in again, and they clashed. Mash caught Razor's sword, then slammed him into the wall. He didn't stop there. He picked him up and smashed him around like a rag doll. Then he ended the fight with a wrestling move, blocking Razor in a submission hold. Razor collapsed, exhausted. He whispered that he wished he'd been born normal. When his evil eye appeared as a kid, his parents locked him away. Later, they tried to kill him. He truly believed he should have never existed. Abel had given him purpose, but now that he failed, he felt useless again. Mash realized how lucky he was to have a dad who loved him, so he offered to be Razor's friend. But Razor said it was no use. He believed that one day Mash would see him like everyone else did and stop caring. Even so, Razor thanked him for the offer and warned him not to fight Abel. He said Abel was on a completely different level and that Mash had no chance. Mash said thanks for the warning but decided to go anyway. He said that even if others judged him, his feelings wouldn't change. He promised that next time they meet, they'd eat cream puffs together. At the same time, Barrett and Finn were facing off against Milo and Love, the fourth and fifth fangs of the Magia Lupus. And elsewhere in the school, another student had just found the secret entrance and was getting ready to head inside. Love looked at Finn and Barrett and saw they each only had one magic line. She instantly thought they would be easy to beat. Milo told her she could handle the two of them by herself while he went to find Mash. Right away, Love tried to throw them off by asking if they liked her. Both Finn and Barrett were confused, saying they didn't even know her. Then she asked if they at least thought she was pretty. Barrett could tell she was trying to mess with their heads, but she was exactly his type. Still, he acted like he wasn't interested, claiming Lemon was already his girl. Love didn't care and told him to drop dead. She went on to say that all women are queens, and any guy who doesn't tell them they're cute or treat them like royalty doesn't deserve to live. Barrett thought she was being way too dramatic. She asked again if they liked her, but Barrett stuck to his story and said he already had Lemon. Finn just watched quietly, thinking this whole thing felt familiar. Suddenly, Love used her tornado magic and sent Barrett flying through the air. She explained that her dad told her it was okay to get rid of anyone who didn't appreciate her. Barrett managed to get up and fight back with fireballs, but Love said his magic was too weak. The fireballs didn't even reach her, but instead, they created a cloud of smoke. Barrett dove toward his wand, but Love sent another gust of wind and knocked him down again. Then, Love dropped another bomb. She said Milo's power lets him turn someone into stone. and the target is always the person who opened the door to this hidden place. Since that was Mash, he would be turned into stone unless they stopped her and Milo within the next 30 minutes. She trapped Barrett in a spinning tornado cage, claiming he'd never escape. Barrett struggled inside while Love insulted Mash, saying he was dumb for trying to take on someone like Abel. Barrett was completely worn out and felt like he was about to die. Just then, he remembered a time from his childhood. Other kids were bullying him with their old flying broom, but suddenly there was an explosion. His sister had shown up to protect him. She told him he should stand up for himself, but Barrett said fighting back would only make things worse. She warned him that if he kept giving up so easily, it would be a problem someday when he finally got a real friend, someone worth protecting. That memory made him think of Mash and how Mash had always stood up for him. Barrett got fired up. When Love tried to attack Finn, Barrett broke out of the tornado trap. She sent another wind attack at him, but he easily stopped it. She was shocked his power had grown so fast and then noticed a mark glowing on his forehead. Barrett shouted that insulting his friends was unforgivable. He lit up the whole battlefield with fireballs. Love started to panic, and Barrett said he was the main character of this story. He fired all the fireballs, but they didn't hit her. He had missed on purpose. He said he didn't like hurting girls and told her to just leave. But then a giant stone had appeared behind Finn. Barrett quickly shoved Finn out of the way and took the hit himself. Milo came back and was confused by what was happening. Love apologized for messing up. Milo seemed ready to drop the plan to turn Mash into stone, but he wasn't finished with Finn and Barrett yet. He raised his hand, ready to crush them both with a powerful attack. Before the hit could land, a sword pierced Milo and blasted him backward. Finn immediately recognized the sword. It belonged to his older brother, Rain. Not only was Rain the top student in Adler Dorm, but he was also a former divine visionary. Milo tried to act tough, saying Rain was just another student, and sent his stone magic at him. Rain didn't even flinch. He sliced the stone head in half and then attacked Milo with a storm of swords. When the dust cleared, Milo realized he had no chance and started begging for his life. Barrett was stunned by how cold Rain was, wondering if they were even on the same team. Rain told them to leave. He would take care of everything else. Love quickly escaped after seeing how hopeless the fight was. Rain then went deeper into the underground area. He had been sent by Headmaster Wahlberg after they found out someone connected to Innocent Zero was hiding in the school. Rain thought someone might be using magic to stay hidden. Suddenly, Rain ran into Mash, who was casually eating a cream puff. Right away, Rain felt something strange about him. He thought Mash could be the one they were looking for, so he summoned a magic spider that could measure magic energy. He swung his sword at Mash, but Mash easily stopped it and looked confused. The spider checked Mash's magic level and detected zero magic. Rain thought it was broken, so he attacked again using just 3% of his strength. Mash blocked it again, turning Rain's swords into a chair. Rain asked his name, and when Mash answered, Rain remembered Headmaster Wahlberg mentioning a strange student with no magic. Rain realized who Mash was and apologized for attacking, but Mash wasn't feeling very forgiving. Rain felt bad and handed him a magic handkerchief that could heal injuries. Mash took it and thought Rain probably liked rabbits because it had one on it. He thanked him anyway. Rain warned him about Abel, saying he had heard that Abel was the top coin holder and had doll-based magic that could be dangerous. Since Mash didn't have magic, Rain thought it could be a big problem. But Mash insisted he did have magic. Rain wished him good luck, saying he had his own stuff to deal with. Mash thanked him for the help, but Rain said he didn't do it for him, he did it for his own reasons. In reality, Rain had been told by Wahlberg that Mash was someone who would do anything to protect his friends, and that he had already saved Rain's own brother, Finn. So Rain silently hoped Mash would succeed. Mash finally arrived at the last room. He paused, wondering if the door was a push or a pull. Instead of figuring it out, he just blew it open. Inside was Abel, who was surprised that Mash had beaten Razor. He had thought only someone like Rain could handle Razor's evil eye, so maybe Mash really was as strong as a divine visionary. Mash worried that Abel might have figured out his secret, but he relaxed when Abel just assumed he was powerful. Abel saw Mash as another superior person. He started talking again about how weak people were ruining the world, getting more rights, making everyone else weaker, so he wanted to wipe them all out. Mash realized Abel wasn't just talking about people with no magic, he also meant underachievers and anyone who protected the weak. That made Mash think about Burned, the man who raised him. He remembered flipping in the air as a kid, landing perfectly, and being rewarded with his first cream puff. He remembered how Burned proudly told him he was happy to have him as a son. That made everything clear. Mash knew right then he could never be friends with someone like Abel. Later, Love rushed through the halls to find Abel. She was relieved she managed to escape from Rain, but when she got to Abel's room, she was shocked. The door was broken, and inside, Mash was already fighting Abel. Mash had just crushed one of Abel's puppets, but it suddenly spilled out acid. Abel warned Mash to be more careful next time. Mash didn't panic. He picked up the puppet's head and threw it like a bowling ball, knocking down all the acid-filled puppets in one smooth move. Love was speechless watching it all happen. Mash asked if Abel would see himself as weak if he lost. He also asked about Lemon, wondering what Abel had done with her. But Abel said he had no idea who that was. Abel decided to get serious and summon stronger puppets. He was confident Mash wouldn't stand a chance, but then those puppets were easily tossed aside. Abel realized Mash had become even more powerful than before. Mash demanded that if he won, Abel had to release Lemon. Abel was surprised Mash was actually backing up his words with strength. Abel then brought out his strongest puppet yet, Mash himself. Mash started attacking his own body, completely out of control. There were strings tied to him, and he began choking himself. But something unexpected happened, the strings snapped. Abel apologized, saying that technique was a bit too harsh. Switching tactics, Abel revealed that he had captured Finn and turned him into a puppet too. He mentioned that Barrett had been caught as well, but he was too beat up to be useful, so only Finn would be used in this fight. Abel sent Puppet Finn to attack Mash. Mash blocked the blow, but Abel warned him not to do that again, or Finn's body would be ripped apart. Mash chose to take the hits instead of fighting back. Finn kept attacking, and eventually his axe broke, but Mash remained standing, totally unfazed. Mash pulled out his gold coin, and Abel thought he was finally giving up. But Mash suddenly flicked the coin so hard, it flew straight at the strings controlling Finn, slicing them off. Finn slowly began turning back into himself. The coin flew back to Mash, and he said it probably just liked him more. Abel wasn't done yet. He tried to take control of Mash again with his strings. Mash began struggling under the pressure, and Abel told him it was useless to fight back, no one could resist his control. But Mash refused to give up and said Abel would regret hurting his friends. He managed to move forward and even broke one of Abel's fingers. Mash powered through, broke free from the strings, and punched Abel straight in the face. But Abel activated a stronger spell, and Mash began to turn into a full puppet. Abel admitted Mash pushed him far enough to use this powerful technique. Soon, Mash was completely turned into a puppet. Abel walked over to take his coin, but instead of a coin, he picked up a cream puff. He was confused. Before Abel could react, Mash returned to normal and punched him hard. His cream puff was safe, and he was happy about that. Abel was stunned. His magic blocked all brain signals, so Mash shouldn't have been able to move. But then he realized the truth, it was a reflex. Some reactions, like pulling back from something hot or kicking when your knee is tapped, don't need the brain. When Abel touched the cream puff, Mash's reflex kicked in and made him move automatically. Love couldn't believe Mash cared that much about a cream puff, but Abel finally accepted Mash's strength. So, he powered up using magic he had taken from other students. He released his most dangerous spell, his ultimate puppet. The puppet created invisible strings that could turn anyone within 100 meters into a puppet just by touching them. Love realized she was within range and could also be turned. Abel said no one could fight back against this. Anyone caught by the strings would be stuck forever, used like a toy. The strings spread all across the room, but suddenly the giant puppet was destroyed. Mash stood there, perfectly fine. Abel was shocked Mash hadn't turned into a puppet. Mash explained how he moved his body in a strange way so the strings didn't hit both sides at once. When he felt a string touch his left arm, he immediately ripped it off using his right, while he still had control. Love was amazed by how insane that plan was. Abel tried to fight back using his puppet, but Mash shattered it completely. In a flash, he was behind Abel and slammed him straight into the floor. Then a memory played out. We saw Abel's past. His mother had been kind and generous. Even though she was a noble, she treated regular people with care and gave food to the poor. But one man got greedy and wanted everything. When she refused, he stabbed her. Even though she believed in human kindness, she died because of it. That moment changed Abel. He began thinking weak people were dangerous and needed to be wiped out. He gathered others who were unhappy with the world and formed the Magi Lupus group. He believed the strong had the right to take from the weak and nothing would change his mind. But Mash disagreed. He told Abel that evil doesn't care about how powerful or weak someone is, it exists in all kinds of people. Since Mash had clearly won, he asked Abel to release Lemon and the other students. Abel agreed. He let his spell go and Mash caught Lemon as she fell. Finn woke up and all three friends were finally safe. Finn and Lemon called Mash a hero. Finn even started crying, thanking him. Lemon apologized for dragging him into the fight and thanked him too. Barrett showed up crawling, saying he helped as well, and they all celebrated together. Abel couldn't believe he lost to people like them. Finn wondered where Lance was. Meanwhile, down in the dungeon, Lance was facing off against Rain. He blocked one of Rain's surprise attacks. Rain was shocked that Lance could keep up with him. His spider companion checked Lance's magic and said it was off the charts. But then it was revealed this wasn't the real Lance. It was someone working for Innocent Zero, disguised as Lance. The man was surprised Rain saw through the disguise, but Rain said it was just easier to hit first and figure things out later. The fake Lance admitted that Abel was supposed to help them with their mission, but since he failed, his job was now to kill him. Rain tried to stop him, but he was blocked by a massive blade. As the man went deeper into the school, Rain was left to deal with another enemy and started to worry about Mash and his friends. Somewhere else, Burned and Brad were watching from afar, wondering how Mash was doing at the academy. They hoped no one had found out he couldn't use magic. Burned asked why Brad wasn't doing anything, and Brad said he just wanted more screen time. Mash and his friends were still having fun celebrating when Abel watched from the side, confused about how long they planned to goof around. Mash suddenly said he had to use the bathroom and walked off, while the rest were just happy things finally calmed down. The other students, who were once puppets, had already gone back to normal. Everything seemed fine. But then, without warning, a mysterious man appeared. The criminals that were captured tried to ask who he was, but before they could react, he took them out in seconds. Barrett briefly considered fighting him, but the moment he sensed the man's energy, he knew this guy was far too powerful. The man stepped up to Abel. His name was Cell. He looked at Abel with disappointment, calling him weak for losing to someone else. He said Abel had once been helpful by giving him info about the headmaster, but now that he was useless, Cell decided to end him. He took control of Abel's body, forcing him to choke himself. Just as Abel was about to die, Mash returned, with a plate full of cream puffs, ready to keep partying. His friends told him it wasn't the right time, but then a fly landed on his nose and made him sneeze. He accidentally flung the cream puffs right at Cell. Everyone thought it might have just been luck, but that moment helped Abel escape Cell's control. Mash calmly asked for his cream puffs back, and his friends couldn't believe that was all he cared about. Cell dropped the cream puffs on the ground, crushing them, and Mash was visibly stunned. At the same time, Cell's head began to hurt as he stared at Mash, starting to wonder if Mash was the one he had been searching for this whole time. Cell picked Abel up again, about to finish him off. Mash rushed in to stop him, but Razor appeared out of nowhere and protected Abel. Mash ran to him, and Razor apologized for not being able to eat cream puffs with him after all. Mash gave him the healing handkerchief he once received, and Cell realized the attack hadn't worked properly. It turned out Mash had thrown a rock at him a split second before, messing up the spell. Mash didn't wait. He slammed his foot down, launched a rock at Cell with insane force, and everyone was shocked when Cell caught the rocket. Licked it. Mash just thought that was weird. Cell warned him that Razor only had 30 minutes left before it was too late to save him. He wondered what someone like Mash could possibly do. He began launching spells, but Mash broke them with his bare fists. Cell didn't take it seriously and sent an even stronger blast, which knocked Mash down. Abel thought it was hopeless. Cell was just on a higher level. Nothing could close that gap. He remembered how his mother always said their status in life was just luck. But Cell seemed born superior, like someone they couldn't beat. More magic kept coming, and Mash kept pushing through. Abel thought Razor had been foolish to protect him, but Mash told him Razor was happy to do it. Razor had lived his whole life isolated and hated, but thanks to Abel, he found meaning. Mash said he'd feel the same way if he were in Razor's place. Hearing that reminded Abel of his mom's advice to imagine what it's like for someone else before judging. That memory changed how he saw things. Meanwhile, Razor's backstory played out in flashbacks. He had lived in fear, treated like a monster for something he couldn't control. His entire life, he believed he didn't deserve to exist. But when he met Abel, someone who didn't treat him like garbage, he found a reason to keep going. Now, even though he was badly hurt, he begged Abel to leave while he still had time. Mash stayed in the fight, doing everything he could to protect them. Cell continued blasting massive attacks, and Mash struggled to keep up. Just when it seemed over, one of Abel's dolls suddenly protected Mash. Abel had joined the fight and sent his doll to attack Cell, but Cell crushed it instantly. Cell told Abel he was useless, but then the doll's head twitched and Mash burst out from inside, punching Cell right in the face. Cell's armor protected him, but he was shocked that Mash had actually damaged it. Cell started wondering what kind of power Mash was using. It clearly wasn't magic. Then, he pulled out a magic mirror known as the Spellflexion Mirror. It was an item feared by every magic user because it could bounce back any spell. Barrett panicked, warning Mash. Cell told Mash to go ahead and try something, since he would just get destroyed by his own attack. But Mash didn't use a spell, he punched right through the mirror, shattering it. Everyone stood in awe. Mash wasn't using any magic, just raw strength. They remembered all the insane things Mash had done up to now. He felt more like a character from a fantasy story than a real person. Cell looked fine, but then noticed a glowing mark on his hand. That was the confirmation. Mash was the one they were after. Suddenly, the room cracked apart and two massive hands reached down from the sky. Cell said he had another job to take care of and vanished, promising they would meet again soon. Mash was glad the fight was done. Abel helped Razor get to the infirmary. Razor hoped that maybe someday he and Mash could finally eat cream puffs together. Abel sincerely thanked Mash and promised to return the favor in the future. Mash rejoined his friends, who were still shocked that he had no magic. They worried that someone might find out and he could get expelled. Mash nervously claimed he could totally use magic. Definitely. His friends knew he was lying but decided they would help him keep it secret. Suddenly, one of the other students nearby woke up and said he heard everything. He was shocked that someone with no magical power was even enrolled in the school. He said he was going to tell everyone the truth. Mash realized this might be the end for him. His friends braced themselves, wondering what he would do next. Mash took a deep breath and said it was the perfect time to eat another cream puff. And that's where this video ends. Watch this following video and I'll see you in the next one.